Welcome back to Sound Bites with Susan and Waylon, where we take a short extraction of our daily lives as publicists to share with our audience across Dallas and beyond. I am Waylon Tate with J. Whelan & Associates Public Relations.
And I am Susan Friedman of Friedman Marketing and Public Relations.
And here we are, episode
Good morning.
9. Good morning.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. It has been a crazy weekend, I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah, it's been a busy week.
It has.
2 weeks ago, you asked me, are you just going crazy busy with the holidays? I'm like, no, I'm all caught up. We've done everything in advance. December usually slows down. Not true.
No, it's happening towards the end for me as well. So we're gearing up. We have a very special guest with us today in the studio. I'll allow Susan to introduce her.
Yes, I am thrilled to have my friend and media personality, Amy Vanderoef, here. Yes, we met like 10 years ago while you were on Good Morning Texas, and you have exploded and you're doing tons of different things now, and so we're really excited that you're here.
Super fun. And I love the name of the show, Sound Bites, which means we're just going to give you the gist, which everybody loves things in bite-sized pieces. So congrats on the show.
Thank you.
Awesome
Thank you so much.
information that you guys are providing.
Yes, thank you. You're our second guest.
Really?
Yes.
I'm a little mad I wasn't the first, but
You were too busy.
You were too busy. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
so,
She was.
but no, we are super thrilled to have Amy here. She comes with a lot of expertise, really in the industry that we're in. She does a whole lot of work with publicists, so she'll be able to give us some really cool insight, especially from kind of a celebridom kind of, and really a television background, right?
And radio. We're going to hear all about it soon. So.
I'll share everything. I'm going to tell all today.
But one of the things, actually, this is a great segue. A lot of people don't know that Amy Vanderoef is former Miss Connecticut.
I just found that out myself. How
And one of the things that we wanted to discuss today was Miss Iraq and the Universal Pageant.
That's right. Yes. And kind of the buzz that it's getting and really what is causing all of the commotion. So,
yes.
Susan, why don't you give us a little rundown as to the...
Sure, and all of this started in November, so you think it's old news, but it is continuing to grow in the story. So Miss Iraq, her name is Sarah Iden, and I may be pronouncing her name wrong. She posed next to Miss Israel in a selfie on Instagram during their pre-Miss Universe photos. And in it she wrote, "Peace and love from Miss Iraq and Miss Israel." Since then, she has been getting death threats. Her family has been getting death threats. She's trying to flee from the country, all because of the turmoil between Iraq and
Israel.
Yeah, it's so sad.
What is your first take?
Well, there's no surprise there's politics in pageants to begin with, right?
Right.
Now you have a country that has not participated for obvious reasons in 45 years in this pageant, so her even being a part of it is a big deal.
Right.
Now, of course, when you're going to post a selfie, it's going to look like a promotional photo. Everything can look very promotional on Instagram, so then, yeah, things heat up. Some people receive death threats as people of public interest, but when they're on this level, they're serious. And I believe if she does flee the country, and I don't know if she has already, it's going to be very difficult for her to ever go back.
Yeah.
Don't you think there's something to be said, though, for whatever her motivations are, her intentions were, right, for posting this picture? You have to applaud these two women who are using their platform, right, to show that
it's a beautiful message that she was giving,
Yeah,
and she is acting as an ambassador.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's...
what I find interesting, sorry to interrupt, but people have asked her numerous times to take it down, and she won't. Yeah. So maybe that is also a controversial issue if she is...
An ambassador saying this is my messaging.
Yeah.
Now, she did release a statement saying this was in no way showing an allegiance to Israel, and it was in no way should it be considered an attack either, like I dare you kind of thing. So it did issue a pretty good statement, but it's a dangerous game. But from a PR standpoint, we're all talking about the Miss Universe pageant when maybe we wouldn't be. So I think from a PR standpoint, they like that these women are sharing their opinions and voices, whether they're controversial or not.
Right. And I think they're definitely pressing the buttons. When I did my fellowship in Washington, D.C., one of my really good friends, his dad was the Prime Minister of Palestine, right? And so he talked to me about this amazing camp that they would do every year called Seeds of Hope. And they would bring Israeli children and Palestinian children together, right? And so, because I mean, you guys, like it's an embattled, century-long conflict between these two religions in particular. And so I think it's, I'm the biggest feminist I know. And so I think, God, do women have to make all of the good changes, right?
Yes.
And so that they're using, again, kind of their platform in a very different way. These are not politicians, right?
Right.
And so I think that, I don't know, I just give them much props.
I do think so.
I do
Every time
too.
people think pageants are outdated, maybe they're not.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
look what we're doing.
That would be interesting if a pageant saved the Middle East,
That's
right?
right. Beauty queens, we could
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, and on a lighter note, this is a fun little bit of information. Steve Campbell, a lot of people know him, a big celebrity here, very charming and charismatic and always dressed impeccably.
He is a character.
Yes, he was actually on Good Morning America for winning the ugliest sweater contest, the ugliest Christmas sweater contest.
Yes.
Do we have a picture? There he is. I don't even know how he walked. He had to walk down the stairs to the main stage, and I was so worried that it was too heavy for him, because it's so loaded down with decorations and ornaments and wreaths and just a little bit of every.
Only Steve could pull something
Yes,
like that off.
yes. It was.
Hey, but he was on GMA, which makes my heart so happy, representing Dallas well.
Yes.
when it
That's
goes
right.
to-
That is absolutely right. It's I've done a little bit of stuff with Steve. One of my clients is Jeffrey Collinger, and he just adores Steve. So they've talked before about doing some stuff together. And I tell you, every time I've had lunch with Steve, he is just. I wish I could have like 1/4 of his energy.
I know.
Because he has so much positive energy, and you can't be in a bad mood around him.
Yeah,
At
no,
all.
you
I know.
Like you can come out of the
cannot.
worst meeting and go into a meeting with him,
He's the
and your
biggest one.
spirit just like opens up because he's such a good guy. So.
Agreed.
So positive too. I actually just looked at his social media, his Facebook page before I got here, and he was flying home, and it looked like he was sitting next to Kim Kardashian, who was like one row above.
Oh.
Took a picture of her eyelashes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yes.
she took a picture like, that's Steve Campbell.
Yeah.
Steve
I
Campbell.
saw her photo.
I saw
That's
him
right.
on Good Morning America. Yeah, the ugliest Christmas sweater.
That is hilarious. That is great.
Yes.
So, speaking of celebrities, I have to tell you, I had in a little bit last week we talked about the different kinds of PR, right?
Yes,
And one of
yes.
those was like crisis communications and damage control. And this past week for me, since our last show, has been a lot of that. For the audience who may or may not know, Tamar Braxton was on tour and made a stop last Monday in Dallas and had some trouble getting into a local establishment. And so she decided to make a video outside of the establishment saying that she was denied entry because she was, in her words, I believe, quote unquote, too gangster. And that Dallas has zero tolerance for black people. That was literally her soundbite. And so, of course, then I have a relationship with this particular establishment, and so, I have to say what it does is it opens your eyes every single time as a publicist to see how people are so easy to jump on the bandwagon when they
Right.
don't know all of the facts, and how do you control that story, right? And how do you give enough details to where you satisfy the situation, but you avoid embarrassing one of the parties or kind of adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
So, what do
Wow.
have you seen the video yet?
I haven't seen the video, but right away, because you don't know, like, who am I rooting for here? Because what type of establishment? What did she do? What did they do? But that's the dangerous thing with social media, right? Because
Yeah.
once you have that label put on you, zero tolerance for whatever, you're guilty, and then even if you're proven innocent, that label
It's
is
still there.
on you. Even if the other person, when you find out, oh, this happened, that happened, it's so dangerous to say something like that.
That's absolutely true. And I kept thinking the whole time, whenever I was approached and, we were talking kind of through the situation and what would be the best response, I issued a statement back to the media, to which they all, gratefully, you always hope that they're going to add it to the story, and they did. It went all the way to the Wendy Williams show, and, so I'm doing, what I can. But I have to tell you what's really interesting. My name was in the media, right? So they issued it. Waylon Tate is the spokesperson for. And I started getting messages, and people were talking about me on social media in not a positive way. That fast forward went all the way to one of my employees' pictures being used in this comment. And I'm thinking,
Wow.
Yeah.
Now you have to
defend my
control.
own. Yeah, that's taking it one step too far.
Can you tell us what was happened, or do we know who was at fault? Do we know what happened?
There really wasn't any fault. So there is in plain, there's a sign that's on the front of the door that basically says, "This is kind of house rules, right? This is our dress code, and these are the things that we comply with." Ms. Braxton chose not to comply with some of those things, and they didn't allow her in as they would you or I or anyone else, right? Obviously I can't say too much, but I can tell you that the mission of specific establishments that sell alcohol, their primary goal is to protect their bartenders because, as we all know sitting here, Susan, you obviously represent spirits, a bartender can be held criminally liable if someone is over-intoxicated or if something happens. There's a cause for action for the bartender, right? So what people can't gather is, okay, well, she's wearing sunglasses and she doesn't want to take them off. What's the big deal? Well, because a bartender who may not know who she is could be standing in front of her, and because they can't visibly see her eyes, they can't make that determination and that call. And it is very subjective, right? And rightfully so. Bartenders should be able to determine who they are serving to when they could potentially be put in some type of, legal.
Now, why doesn't she call in advance and say, "I want to go to this place at this time and have this table"? Don't most celebrities kind of do that? Like, I don't want anybody to mess with me, so I'm gonna, if I want to have special exceptions to keep everybody safe, let me provide this in advance.
That's absolutely right, and that's the way it normally happens, particularly with this establishment and all of the establishments related to this umbrella company. It happens all the time. When celebrities come into Dallas, they really, really want to celebrate, I guess, in the LGBT community and the clubs and bars all along Cedar Springs.
You were saying Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
You mentioned her before.
Well, the simplest answer is take your glasses off. If that's all they wanted, and then put them back on, if you want to go and sit down and have some drinks or something. But
yeah, racial discrimination is a big deal. So I want our eyes to be on that when it's necessary and if there's something going on. Like, don't use that for bad behavior, because that's a serious allegation you're putting on somebody, and we got to be careful.
Especially as a national
figure. No, I mean, it was, I mean, I'm telling you, like, the media just kept rolling in and wanting responses and then wanting, additional questions answered. And, you have to make those judgment calls. But to Amy's point, that is something that I think we all take really seriously, establishments in particular, and never more so than in LGBT bars and restaurants where it's already a marginalized community, right? All embracing, all encompassing is kind of the mantra that I always believe in across all of the bars across Cedar Springs. And so I kept thinking about all of the, the African American employees that work for this particular organization and how they must have felt after that comment. I mean, it was so, I'm still
be careful what you say and put out on social media. Be careful, and then be careful on who, fact check, I always say, before we like and retweet. Really find out what's happening.
Yeah. So, again, back to a brighter note, Susan, what did you do this past weekend? Did you have...
I went to some fun client parties for the holidays, which was amazing. I did have a very early morning, 6 a.m. arrival on Morning Dose Television with my mini ambassadors of eQuest, four-legged horses that are under 36 inches tall. There's a picture on the screen. They are so cute. And so that was a bright, early, and fun morning with Morning Dose. And then AC Hotel, I've mentioned them quite a bit. One of my clients actually had their grand opening. And so we have a few photos for you of that. It was a lot of fun. We had the little we had a 50-foot long red carpet, and it was a private event for the businesses downtown, which was great. AC Hotels is located downtown. But yes, that's my assistant, Anna, and myself. This has never happened to me. I was trying to get everything ready in advance, and I didn't have time to put on makeup.
Wow. Susan, that's like the most important aspect of
it was one of those things. I got there literally 4 hours early, and I was on the go prepping for it that entire time. I ran upstairs to go put on makeup, and people were radioing me in with questions, so I just ran downstairs, and I'm like, hopefully, I won't have my picture taken. So it was kind of funny, but it was a wonderful event, without my makeup. So
I would just die. I'm gonna have to use a chisel to get off the makeup I have on now, right? Like, I don't go in public, especially for red carpets.
No. Well, I'm not on the red carpet.
You're
I'm
making
behind
me
the
sweat.
scenes. That's one of the things. We talk about the
What are
work
you
of a
doing?
PR, and this is behind the scenes. Like, so, you know, we're supposed to be making our clients and put them on the red carpet and in the spotlight. Nobody should be looking at me.
A little blush would hurt you, Susan.
So,
I'm just saying.
yeah.
Some gloss. No.
Oh my gosh, that's harsh. Those shots fired. Wow.
That's our banter, though. This is, I think, what makes us so great is, you know, we have interest. We're able to
Yin
kind
and
of
the
poke
yang.
at each other, and we are certainly the yin and the yang. I had a great experience too this last weekend. I went with a couple of my friends to the Dallas Museum of Art, and I have to say, every time I go, I find like different things.
I love the Dallas
that
Museum of Art.
Yeah, I do too. Well,
Yeah.
you're a huge like connoisseur, and you're always in Fort Worth, right?
Thank
I think
you.
you mentioned it on
Yes.
every show.
I'm well cultured.
You were Fort Worth filler for a while, so.
Yeah.
Well, so like I think every other Thursday they do kind of like a $5 wine walk at the
Okay,
DMA.
now we're getting to the point.
Yes,
It's really
it's
about
all
the
about the
wine.
cocktails, right? And they do a scavenger hunt, which was great because it sends you to every single floor of the Dallas Morning, you know, the DMA. And so I got to take my picture with George Washington, and I made my way
That's
through all of
awesome.
Asian art, and it was really, really fun.
A scavenger hunt and wine? I mean, this,
Yes.
this sounds awesome.
Yeah,
And art.
And art.
Gotta remember.
And their special showings are really amazing. And so I took an opportunity to kind of go through one of the special exhibits that they had, and it's called Truth, 24 frames per second. And I have to say, and this really kind of ties into what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, is there's this beautiful installation, and it's two films running, and they're kind of facing, you know, on alternate walls. And it is of a woman in a hijab, right? She's covered in the veil. And one is of her in like a very busy airport or mall or something, and people are just kind of walking by her. And the other side is her just in front of a building. Again, it's completely silent. And it's really kind of powerful if you come from it from a perspective. I'll tell you what I took away, and again, all art is subjective, but what I kept thinking over and over as I was watching this reel is this woman in a hijab could be standing anywhere in the world and still feel like she has no voice, or that she's unseen, right?
That's beautiful.
Well,
it's beautiful that the art can evoke that emotion and thought and feeling. It's sad though.
Yeah,
It's
it
fun.
is. It was, but it was beautiful, and I think that's art is supposed to evoke something.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Amy, what did you do this past weekend?
I'm like, I can't, like, I was listening to your awesome stories. Like, I helped saved clients, and I'm watching this amazing art. I'm a single mother, so most weekends you will find me at home with my son, and that's what we do. Friday, I built gingerbread houses in my son's school
love
with the
that.
kindergartners and the third graders, and a lot of my weekends, we took them to our kids' activities. He had basketball on Saturday, and but I have a little bit of an embarrassing thing to tell you guys that last night I went to Snoop Dogg at the House of Blues.
Oh, that is so
Yeah.
much fun.
That is awesome.
Yes.
You look
Isn't that
awesome
mean?
for this morning.
Thank
Which I
you.
like. I was like,
I did, and everyone's like, "You're going to Snoop Dogg," and I'm like, "I'm going to Snoop Dogg."
that is awesome.
Yes, it
How
was
was it?
great. We actually made a staycation. I took some other mommy friends with me, and we stayed at the awesome Jewel Hotel downtown. And
Wait, this
yeah.
was last night?
This was last night. Yeah, that's where I just. came
Thank
from.
you for being here. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, she left her staycation to come on
They're
our
still
show.
in bed. My two
Yes,
friends.
at the
Oh.
Jewel.
Yes.
Well, I have to say you do look amazing. So,
Yeah, I behaved, I
something's
guess.
working. Yeah,
Thank you.
apparently. That's great.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Wait, where was he performing?
At House of Blues.
House of
Okay.
Blues.
Yeah.
What a
Great
great
venue.
show.
It was
Yeah.
Very fun. So cool. That's the life of Amy Vanderoef. You know, just hanging out with Snoop Dogg.
And she was thinking that our lives were interesting. I'm like sticking out with Asian art at the DMA, and you're sticking out with.
And I'm
Snoop
working,
Dogg.
so.
Susan's always working. What's coming up? Like, what's coming up this week?
You know,
what are we
let's
looking
go ahead and jump to our Crudo vodka
Yeah,
commercial.
absolutely. So let's we'll regroup
Yep.
after this quick break from one of our sponsors, Crudo Vodka. As always, Crudo makes it smoother. We'll be right back.
Hey Susan, can you turn off the microphone and talk about that part?
And we are back. Thank you, Crudo Vodka, as always, for your sponsorship. And now we really want to dig into the life of Amy and what she's all about. So now Susan, I have to say, obviously, knows Amy. This is our second, maybe third time meeting. Very briefly, the Dallas social circles are very small, as I think we all know. And so we've seen each other, you know, at numerous occasions. But I really want to know everything. Like, I'm super excited to know everything and kind of what.
I want to know where all the bodies are buried.
All of
WFAA
them, every single one of
and
them.
beyond.
Yeah.
So what do you do on the daily? Like, you obviously
I
have clients.
I
but
get this question all the time. I even posted it on social media. Everyone's like, so what is it exactly that you do? You know, I was on a show for 10 years, and so that was, it's Amy Good Morning Texas. And so I get asked, why would you quit that job? You were put on this earth to do it. And then I get asked, what is it that you're doing? It's hard to tell from social media. So in a nutshell, I kind of saw where TV was going and where media was being consumed. And I really had this divine intervention, thank you God, in my life that said, you could do this job for another 10 years, or you can go and try and take a risk and make some money. My status quo had changed. I got a divorce. I like to live indoors. So I'm like, I need to start making money and getting some side hustle. So I felt really good about leaving when everyone seems to be clamoring for the small screen. Anyway, from there I thought, okay, I'm going to be a freelance talent. So what does that mean? I do a lot of things that are monetized through social media. I keep pointing down there because my phone's down there. You know, that's where they're like, is there a dog down there? It's my phone. So through social media, as a brand ambassador. But I also have different clients that I work for and do a lot of spokes work for, Toyota headquarters being one of them.
Okay.
Right
Nice.
here. I have clients all around the country because I do voiceovers. So I also do a lot of stuff in booth and doing those kinds of tracks, but then I also host a lot of live events, some of them in Dallas, a lot of them in Dallas, and then I travel. And I work with publicists all the time. Publicists are always saying, you know, I have this great client, but they're not booking segments. Can we do media training with them so that I can pitch them?
Right.
And they can do segmented television. And I also do group kind of lessons for corporate, social media for different people. I've done social media training for attorneys before, which is really funny.
It
'cause
is.
you don't
Yeah.
think attorneys and social
represent
media.
You did.
several attorneys.
So you
Which
do
is
social
difficult.
media training as well?
Yeah,
I
media
didn't realize
training,
that.
meaning on camera and meaning social media and using video to tell your message and your narrative. And so every day's a little bit different. So to answer your question in a big, long sentence, it's different every single day.
And wouldn't you agree that it's ever evolving? We do a whole lot of media training instead of mine, my operation as well. And I think what's difficult for people to understand, and Susan and I talk about this all the time, is that it's not enough if your client has a great story. They need to be able to tell that story and tell it on air. And not everyone is made to be in front of the camera.
That's such a good point. So if you have a great client or great idea, I always say know when to remove yourself from the equation. Sometimes we get really lucky and the CEO, the president, is the person to be on camera. They have to be. Their story is so dynamic and they're so good. And then sometimes you hire a spokesperson, and that's where I come in. I'm a hired spokesperson for many different companies who want to get their messaging out but don't have that person to be on camera.
That
Or
must
that
be
following.
hard to tell somebody, though. I mean, you have to be
As a
honest.
publicist who's taking their money, and you can't be
Yeah.
like, you're horrible. You
Yes.
should never be on
You
camera.
Of
That's
course
what
they
they
would
get
never
me.
do that.
They get me to do that. So they send me to their home. They send me to their thing, and I assess it, and then I, as the media trainer, deliver the message, and it's actually a whole lot better. Because then
Right.
the publicist can be like, I don't know, she's crazy, but okay. You know, so it works out.
How do you kind of determine which clients you'll take? Because you know you've established a following,
Yeah.
right? And so to become a de facto representative or spokesperson for a
Yeah.
brand, I'm sure you're pretty picky and choosy with
You
who
are.
you.
I love that you brought this up because you know we've seen so many people of public interest. And that's what I call myself, not a celebrity, because it's weird because I'm so not, right? So, first, people of public interest, these brand ambassadors, I see them watering down the messaging in their pages because they're just it's ad, and they're not being consistent. Where I am picky and choosy about it being brand aligned. I'm a consistent, well-known brand in Dallas, and so my clients tend to be very Dallas because my following is Dallas.
Right.
I'm not one of these influencers that have a fan in New York, a fan in Montana, a fan in wherever. So that's why I'm more desirable here. And then it has to be my messaging. I'm a single mom, and parenting is a big silo in my life, and the messaging about what the other client is has to be something that jives with me and that it feels good. So yeah, some things are just not meant to be my client. Just as publicists, some people
That's
aren't
true.
meant to be your client.
I know I've turned away certain,
You have to believe in your client,
That's
at least
right.
for me as a publicist.
That's right.
Yeah, you do.
And I do
You
a
have
lot
to
of
believe in
politics too, so it's really,
Okay.
because obviously I have my own beliefs, and now there have been opportunities that I've had where I've decided to move forward because it didn't, although directly align with the way I believe or feel, it didn't directly offend me as well, right? So I've taken those opportunities because let's face it, right? I mean, we're all in the business to make money, and so, or at least I am. I'm sure Susan is doing it just out of the goodness of her heart. I'm ready to cash the checks. Okay, so
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But,
no one ever.
So yeah, it can be a little bit tricky trying to determine who you bring into your wheelhouse, and
Yeah.
so you've obviously done it very well. I was looking through your Instagram yesterday, and I was like, God, this girl looks like she's all over the place.
She is all over the place. She's everywhere. You are. You do a great job with it. Before the show, she was doing Facebook Live, and I was like reading what we're going to do, and she's just like social mediaing it up. I was like, okay, note, I need to do more social media.
It's true,
Like,
and it's the necessary evil.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I like to live indoors, and I do everything, right? This little LLC of mine, I market it, and I do my proposals, and I chase my invoices, and I execute the work as a talent, and I, running this whole little thing by myself is crazy. But I'll fast forward to the end of the story. I doubled my income by quitting TV, guys.
That's
and
amazing.
Does that even make sense, right? In order for me to afford to buy my home last year, I knew I have to quit my job.
I watched.
And that is the God's honest truth.
If I'm not mistaken, Amy, I believe you did like a whole campaign about this process of buying your home.
Yes.
And I watched it because I thought this is such a testament to the power of really being a fully realized person and really following your dreams. Like it is the true spirit of entrepreneurship, right?
Thank you. Yeah, it's like, and I had that vision, right? And I thought, if I do this, I'll be able to buy a house someday. And I partnered with Ebby Halliday, and they loved my messaging as being a single mom and a first-time home buyer. And I walked everybody through how to do it during a 3-month campaign. And I actually live in that house that I bought. So it's like this reality show that really happened.
I love that.
Come over and visit.
I give you
sometime.
props too, because we bought our house 2 years ago, and it's a very stressful, and to put that on social media too.
Yeah.
But you have to show all of that. Isn't social media being authentic and showing like everything?
Yeah.
For some
From
people.
behind, yeah.
Yeah,
people,
so
right?
that was
Yeah.
the hard part, right?
Yeah.
Because things went wrong, right? But I couldn't show all that part.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because the client was making, and so there's moments of total breakdown. It's
Yes.
buying a house is stressful
Yeah,
as it is, and then
it
you're
is.
alone doing it by yourself. So yeah.
I'm in the same boat, Amy. I'm about to buy my first house. So I'm kind of in the exploratory phase now, and I've looked. And
That's so exciting.
I've fallen in love with some properties in Kessler Park, and then some in the M Streets and things like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is going to be my first home, right? So
Yeah.
I don't really know the process, and like you go through pre-approval, and I'm like, oh my God, like my eyes are like, like I can't believe I'm approved for that much. And then they start talking about how much I need to put down, and I'm like, excuse me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Like,
Yeah.
it's a whole
Psych.
different
Yeah.
conversation.
Psych.
I'm like, okay, I'll stick
And
with
that's
something.
what keeps
you
people
know.
not being able
Yeah.
to buy
The
a
suburbs.
home.
Yeah.
Is
Right.
the down payment, right? Oh my gosh, I want you to move to Kessler Park because I used to live there and I
Yes.
loved Kessler Park.
I want to move there
love
too, but I think I would probably have to sell
expensive,
something out of my
right?
It
trunk
is.
to be able to put the down payment.
I know,
It's just
it's
insane.
Everything in downtown proper is kind of expensive now. Like,
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't find anything in our neighborhood, honestly, Susan, for under 700,000. Like
Really?
I've looked. I've talked to 2 different realtors.
Should
and,
we
like,
be roommates?
There's a condo for sale in my little complex.
There is?
Yeah.
Oh, and I love your house. Like, I go to
thank you.
Susan's often so we can kind of talk about the show and do the workups. But it.
You could be neighbors. What could
Yes.
go wrong with this?
Yeah. As if we don't see each other enough, right? At all of
You're
our
my
events.
second husband.
But, you have been an absolute joy to be here. I wish we could have a little Amy in our pockets every week on the show.
I could be your
because-
pocket
I
Amy
know.
anytime you need one. I'll pop right over. But thank you guys. I'm proud of the work you're doing too.
Oh, thank you.
You're
Thank
providing
you.
good information and time well spent. So.
We appreciate
Aw,
that. So
thank you,
make
Amy.
sure to stay in touch with everything that Amy's doing on social media at Amy Vanderoef.
Yes.
And until next time, please stay in tune with Susan and I as well, Susan and Waylon, across all social media platforms. We have to give a big shout out to our sponsors.
Yes, eQuest, a nonprofit that provides horse therapy for people in need.
That's great. And also to Critical Launch, who's done an amazing job with building our website. It will be done, folks, by next week, I promise. So
Yes.
stay tuned, and we will
Yes.
see you next week.
Not next week, it's the
Oh, that's right, it's
holidays. We're
Christmas.
taking a
The week
week
after.
off. Yes.
Season 2. Thank you.
Thank you.